He's a Kiwi who's had his face on the cover of Time magazine twice. He knew President John F. Kennedy. The Americans even named an asteroid after him. Yet Bill Pickering is hardly a household name in New Zealand, which is kind of strange because Dr. Sir William Pickering, as he's known officially, has a place in history alongside great explorers like Christopher Columbus and Captain James Cook. The reason? Well, this South Islander explored the final frontier, outer space.
T-minus 10, 9, 8.
You build up to these things, of course, because the countdown process is done very carefully and over quite a long period of time.
5, 4, 3.
Tension does keep building up, there's no question about it.
2, 1, 0.
Until you get to the final few seconds.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
He's the father of the space age.
Yeah, this is the Voyager spacecraft.
There's still a hint of the Kiwi in Bill Pickering's accent 70 years after he left home. This spacecraft, his creation.
It explored the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
It's still sending messages back 20 billion kilometres out from Earth. So this is the famous plaque?
This is the record which was put on just in case sometime, who knows when, aliens might run into it, and this is supposed to tell them something about the Earth. The sounds of Earth.
Science fiction to science fact. This man has had one of the dream jobs of the 20th century. When the interplanetary explorers left Earth,
1,000 feet high, 80 feet per second vertical rise.
They were mostly on a mission for Bill Pickering. For 2 decades, he headed NASA's program for unmanned space exploration.
I had a contract which basically said, go out and explore the solar system. That was a nice contract.
Today, Sir William Pickering lives in retirement in Pasadena, California, a spry 89 years old, surrounded by the honours of a grateful nation.
Here I am showing President Johnson some of the pictures of the moon.
And not just Lyndon Baines Johnson. His admirers included Presidents Eisenhower, a youthful John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford. All knew this man from Havelock who took America where no man had been before. A big contrast to childhood back home in the early years of the last century, where he lived in this house with his grandmother and attended a country school.
But just as a matter of interest, by the way, that primary school was the same school that Sir Ernest Rutherford went to.
So what was there, something in the water? While Rutherford was to launch the atomic age, Pickering was to have as much impact on the space age, but he had to cross his own planet first to America in 1929 to study at Caltech Institute.
As you know, the middle 30s was not a very good time to look for a job in New Zealand. And Caltech, meanwhile, was dangling a job in front of me, so I came back here and stayed here.
At that time, in a dry creek bed near Los Angeles, a group of young graduates was experimenting with rocket flight.
It started out as a graduate student project from some students in aeronautics. And as they worked more with rockets, trying to understand a rocket motor so it wouldn't blow up, so it would do what you wanted it to do, that sort of thing, they found themselves running into instrumentation problems. And they invited me to come up and help them with some of their instrumentation work.
It was unpredictable, pioneering stuff. Rockets were even strapped onto planes. During World War II, Nazi Germany developed the V-2 rocket. It was tempting technology for America at war's end.
The U.S. did bring quite a lot of German V-2s over to this country. I don't know, 30 or 40 of them, I think. And they indeed were used for learning something about them.
By then, Pickering was working for the Pasadena Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California.
The Army had asked the laboratory to try to do some research on this kind of rocket so as to understand them, and we were doing that.
The New Zealander was put in charge of a project to make rockets go higher than the German models. It was trial and error. very shaky start in the space race. Today, Sir William lives just 5 minutes' drive from his old lab, though in his 90th year he still gets down there regularly. It's the Pasadena Jet Propulsion Laboratory where he was director, in pride of place, Sir William's and America's first satellite.
This is what went into orbit.
So it was that simple. It looks pretty humble now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Humble may be, but it's his historic achievement.
Yeah, let's start up here. This is Dr. Van Allen's experiment. Down here in the middle you see the Geiger counter, which found the Van Allen radiation belts.
Mind you, it wasn't meant to be America's first satellite. The US Navy was supposed to get that on. The Russians had just beaten America with Sputnik. US pride was severely dented.
It had a tremendous effect here in the United States because, of course, the obvious comment was, how could these peasants do a thing like this when we haven't done it? And the idea that without asking our permission, this thing was flying over the United States several times a day without our being able to do anything about it.
Just in case the Navy couldn't launch its Vanguard satellite, Washington had asked Pickering to build a second one as backup.
We said we'd do it in 90 days, and we did.
That must have been huge pressure on you.
It was indeed, because to complicate it, as a matter of fact, the first week in December, the Vanguard people said they were going to launch a test mission, and they invited the press and everybody down to the Cape to look at it. And the rocket went up about 6 feet and then fell back in a ball of fire.
So on January 31st, 1958, it fell to Pickering to launch his project. Pickering was back at the Pentagon, waiting by the phone, waiting for word that his satellite had circled the Earth.
What happened was that the trajectory of the Explorer was a little bit higher than the calculations that had been made, so it was 8 minutes late. And I can tell you that 8 minutes when I was waiting for the report, it was a long, long 8 minutes.
A triumphant Pickering, at extreme left of this picture, hoisted his satellite before the media.
After we left, we said to each other, life is going to be different than it was.
When NASA got the job of pursuing the space race, Bill Pickering was offered virtually any job he wanted.
And NASA said, look, we basically have three kinds of experiments we're going to do. One of them are going to be satellites close to the Earth. Another are going to be satellites way out in deep space. And a third one is going to be the manned program. And I said that I would like the deep space program. And NASA gave it to me. And I must say it has worked out very well.
Suddenly, the planets were his to explore. It was arguably the biggest adventure since Captain Cook or Columbus. But this time, a South Islander was at the helm. When Kennedy promised a man on the moon...
Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone.
He knew he couldn't do it unless Pickering checked the moon out first.
So you'd go rushing back there and then meet with the president. This happened on several occasions to show pictures of, show something of the experiment. Mm-hmm.
What was President Kennedy like as far as you could make out?
Kennedy definitely wanted to talk to us about our work, but I somewhat had the feeling that he had other things on his mind that were worrying him more than what the space program was doing. Johnson, on the other hand, I think was very interested in it.
Pickering's space probes tested the lunar surface before the Apollo mission.
When the Apollo program got going, we asked the Apollo people to land one of their missions close to one of the surveyors and bring back some of the hardware from the surveyor so we could see what the effect of being in the environment of space for a few years what that effect might be.
Venus was next with his Mariner program. Then Mercury, photographed with precision, and the volcanoes, canyons and moons of Mars. Bill Pickering, unquestionably a great New Zealander, just take a walk down the passage of his Pasadena home. They've named an asteroid after you?
Yes.
Pretty rare honour, that. Tell you, the best New Zealand can do is name a street after you. That's not so bad, really, is it? To be fair, we also gave him a knighthood, and he doesn't hesitate to pay us back. While we were there, Sir William did a 3-hour drive to San Diego. He was guest of honour at an international conference of universities where he lost no chance to give his homeland a giant plug.
Now, apparently my secondary school education in New Zealand fitted me very well for Caltech. In fact, I even found that the French that I took at Wellington College was adequate to meet the language requirement for my PhD.
He's still in hot demand for the speaking circuit with the support of his wife, Ines. Not surprising for a man whose space program made the world smaller with satellite communications, developed digital TV so his craft could send pictures back from other planets, solar panels to power them, and most importantly, microchips.
The space program drove the move to the modern electronics, which of course they're all over the place now.
Pickering's space probe, Voyager, has passed the planets, past the edge of our solar system, heading for the stars, still working, still sending back information 23 years and 20 billion kilometres on.
One of the things which we did with Voyager, and Voyager went out past Neptune, was going on out of outer space, we said, let's take a picture looking back of the entire solar system, sun in the middle, planets around it. We did, and you can't see Earth. It's so small.
You had the power to do that.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your greatest achievement?
I think I would say Explorer 1.
That satellite that was America's and Pickering's first step into space.
That was a gamble, but the whole world was looking at us. Satellite communication is all over the place these days, but you just take it for granted that you're going to see live TV from anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't do that if you didn't have satellites, and you wouldn't have satellites if we hadn't done these experiments.